In sharp contrast to how America handles fascist insurrections, Brazil's Supreme Court has arrested a major government official on allegations that he enabled their Capitol riots. So we've done some videos on this topic, but it's an ongoing major international story, so I imagine we're going to continue to do videos as major developments occur. But just as a quick recap, on January 8th, 2023, Brazil experienced their own version of the January 6th, 2021 insurrection, in which thousands upon thousands of far-right rioters in support of a defeated far-right president, Jair Bolsonaro, attacked 3 government buildings about a week after the newly elected leftist president, Lula da Silva, was inaugurated. But if you compare what happened on January 8th, 2023 in Brazil to January 6th, 2021 in the United States, the biggest contrast by far, the biggest thing that distinguishes these two events is how Brazil's government has responded to their attempted insurrection compared to how the United States has responded to its insurrection. The action that they have taken in about a week makes the collective action that the American government has taken in 2 years, I mean, it's just night and day. Brazil has taken such a proactive, aggressive, expedient, pro-democracy posture, it would make your head spin to compare them, which is exactly what we're going to do in one of a few stories that we're going to cover about this. So Brazil's ex-justice minister was arrested upon his return to Brazil, okay? So Brazil's former Justice Minister Anderson Torres was arrested in Brasilia, the Brazilian capital, on Saturday over allegations that he sabotaged security operations ahead of the riot, okay? Now, I say he's ex-Justice Minister because he was fired days before he was arrested. Torres, the former head of security in the nation's capital, was in charge of ensuring the federal district's safety when supporters of right-wing former President Jair Bolsonaro attacked the 3 government buildings. But he was fired from his position on, I think, the same day of the riots, like just hours afterwards, by Brasilia Governor Ibanez Rocha, shortly after the riot occurred. So he was fired the day the riots occurred, and now he's been arrested. Bad week for him. But as a sidebar, this particular sentence is really interesting because the guy who fired him, his boss, Brasilia Governor Ibanez Rocha, he was also removed from his position recently by the Brazilian Supreme Court. Now, he wasn't technically fired. He was just temporarily removed. I think he'll be gone for at least 3 months, pending an investigation into his activities, right? Basically on the same grounds. Torres was directly responsible for the capital's security, but Rocha was ultimately responsible because Torres answered to the governor. And they were both, as far as I know, Bolsonaro loyalists. Rocha, I know Governor Rocha, was appointed by Bolsonaro to his position. So the Supreme Court is looking at both of them, saying, well, one was directly responsible, you were ultimately responsible, and both of you have a conflict of interest here, so we're going to look into this. And in the meantime, you're not going to be trusted with a position of power. So that is just one indication of the proactive, pro-democracy posture that the Supreme Court's taken. Now, Torres, the guy this story is about, the ex-justice minister, has denied any involvement in the riots. He'd been on vacation in Florida, which coincidentally enough is where Bolsonaro himself is at this time, and was arrested upon his return to Brazil by the Brazil Federal Police. Now, he has denounced the riot and vowed, when he was in Florida, to return to Brazil to defend himself, saying that he's always acted ethically and legally. Another interesting thing is that it was not immediately clear what the exact charges were in terms of his arrest, but the Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, a name you should note because it appeared in a previous story, it appeared in this one, and it will appear in at least one more, and I imagine he's going to be a recurring figure in all the stories to come, but he ordered Torres' arrest on suspicion of omission and connivance. He said Torres failed to act to prevent the riot and that his omission was amply proven by the predictability of the conduct of criminal groups and the lack of security that enabled the invasion of public buildings. So this is interesting. And I mean, you're already probably noticing a difference between the Brazilian Supreme Court and the American Supreme Court in that Brazil, and I'm doing some more research on this, but from an article that I read, Brazil's Supreme Court a couple of years ago basically assumed certain powers in its interpretation of Brazil's constitution that enabled it in certain cases to act as a prosecutor as well, to basically proactively take steps. Whereas in America, the Supreme Court is reactive, right? You have to, it's basically the highest appellate court in the land and interprets matters of constitutionality, but they can't proactively, like they can't, go to Congress or go to the president and say, hey, what you're doing is unconstitutional. No, it has to be litigated first before the Supreme Court can take any action. That's not the case in Brazil. And the Alexander de Moraes Supreme Court Justice in particular, he is making liberal use of his prosecutorial powers. And I would say with very good reason and for very good cause here. Hey, you! Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, and I hope that you did, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below. And if you absolutely hated the video, the best revenge for you is also to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. That'll teach me. If you want to share an opinion or share some feedback, go ahead and leave a comment, all right? 2023 is a year of change, hence the aggressive rebrand and commitment to new content. Inspired by my friends Luke Beasley and STV Philly, my personal goal for this channel is to hit 40,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So I'm hoping you'll do me a solid by spreading the word and the videos to potential fans and hate watchers alike. And in the meantime, we'll be pondering politics again with you very soon.